I think if there were no tensions, if there was no escalation recently in the region, those Canadians would be right now home with their families. This is something that happens when you have conflict and war.
Did Pierre Trudeau just exonerate the Iranians and kind of throw us in the mix here? Protests continuing right now after the downing of that jetliner and the government trying to corral those who it says are responsible for it. But the Prime Minister, as I just told you, Justin Trudeau, I apologize, is not putting the blame exclusively on Iran. Fox News foreign affairs analyst Phares joins us. What he's saying is that there was this act of war in place. Anything could and did and sadly ultimately happened. What do you make of that?
I respectfully disagree with the Prime Minister of Canada. The demonstrations have been going on at least, and it's archived, since the end of 2017, 2018, 2019, and all the way to now. But more important was the fact that the Iranian militia, which was involved in suppressing the Iran protests, was the one that started their military actions against our forces, forcing the president to respond. So in the framework of all that conflict, when the Iranian regime and its bureaucracy fail in making sure that they're not shooting at civilian airplanes, at the time that they shut down their air to all other civilian airplanes, and they commit that action that killed dozens of people, I don't understand how a prime minister or other leaders would blame America, even half, even 1%. All the blame is to the regime.
So dealing with the protesters, you know, it's very different than 40 years ago at the time of the Iran hostage crisis, isn't it, Waleed, where the government then of Ayatollah Khomeini used the great Satan of America as a deflection against a tumbling economy and rallying, you know, people in the country behind Iran against the United States. They've been trying the same thing now to little success. What do you make of the difference now?
Well, the difference is huge. It's a historical, diametrical difference. It's the difference between the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 and the anti-Bolshevik Revolution in Eastern Europe of 1989 and 90. It's that big, that large. Those who are rising now, most of them were not even born after the Cold War, and certainly nobody was there during the communist age. I'm talking about the young people. What they're calling for is beyond the Reformation, beyond the fact that they lack of everything. The list is very long: economics, health, political suppression. They want an actual change of that government, of that regime. And these are not Americans. These are Iranians who are calling for it. So I believe, Neil, that this is irreversible. The regime can push back, can do violence, but they have to be very careful, because at this point in time, and unlike last year and the year before, the United States, its president, and others in the region have committed to monitor what's happening, which means that there will be actions, including legal and other, against those who are engaged in violence against the protesters.
You know, we already know, Ali, that Britain, France, and Germany have launched a dispute over Iran challenging the nuclear accord and walking away from it. They're not accepting that. So in a way, they're countering Iran and us at the same time. It's weird.
It is weird, but it is transitional. I'll explain why very quickly. The Europeans, the core, Germany, France, Italy, and Britain, the European Commission in general terms, was committed to the Iran deal for economic reasons. Essentially, their companies have been making, will be making money because of that, and because of a theory that if you engage economically with this regime, it's going to mollify, become moderate, so on and so forth. All of this was proven wrong, but the Europeans continue to be committed. What is changing right now, Neil, is the fact that they see that this regime may not last. And in good calculations, they understand if the majority of the population is not with the regime, give it 1 year, 2 years, maybe much lesser than that, it will change, and they need to cut a deal with the next government. So they are doing those calculations at this point in time.
Waleed, thank you very, very much. Waleed Phares.